Hey guys, welcome back to What the Fat. This is Dr. Ryan Lowery coming to you with episode 91. We're getting close to 100. We gotta think of something really special for episode 100. So if you have any ideas, let me know. Shoot me a DM. Let me know on Instagram or Facebook. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts of what we should do for episode 100. It's crazy. I can't believe it's already approaching. But nonetheless, it's been amazing, and I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, and each and every one of you always giving me feedback, always saying, hey, like, I'd love this guest, or hey, we should have this person on. That means the world to me. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today we're going to do a micro podcast, and today we're going to be discussing, this is something that I've been getting a lot of questions about. Ever since I did the podcast talking about priorities are never in conflict, one of the biggest questions I have is, well, then how do I prioritize, right? People go, how do you prioritize things in your day? Like, you have a lot going on. How do you prioritize things? So I want to give practical tips, because everyone, it doesn't matter what you're doing, has things that they need to prioritize in their life. Because everyone knows, if you listen to me on videos or you listen to me on the podcast before, like, I hate the term, I don't have time. It's just unacceptable. Instead, it's just understanding that that isn't a priority. So the question becomes, how do you prioritize? How do you make things a priority? Or how do you set aside things that might be time suckers that are literally taking up a lot of your time and then making you feel like you're overwhelmed and not able to accomplish certain things? So we're going to talk about 5 steps, and I'll actually give a little bonus on top of it at the end. So it would be 5+ steps to prioritizing anything that you're doing. And I'll take you through kind of like what I do, because there's a ton going on at all times with all the different businesses, all the different things that we have going on, personal life, travel. I feel like I'm traveling every other week. How do you prioritize that? So first and foremost, you have to create a master list. That is step number 1. You have to create this master list of tasks. I have a notebook that I literally, every month, I sit down and I write all of these tasks. Like, hey, these are all the things I need to get done. And anytime something comes up, even if I'm about to accomplish it or just do it, I write it down. Because there is actually power in writing it down, talking it, saying it out loud, and then eventually crossing it off, which we'll talk about. But step number 1 is you need to create this master list. Without a list, if you're like me, you'll forget it. I tell everyone this. I'm like, hey, can you write that down? Or hey, can you send that to me so I can write it down or put it in my calendar? Because if I don't, I'm going to forget it. It's absolutely guaranteed that I'll forget it. So you need to create this master list of everything you need to accomplish. Grocery shopping, paying bills, knocking out this project, writing this. You need to create a task list that is a master task list. So then that brings us to step 2, which is, now you have this list of all of these different tasks. You need to identify the degree of urgency. And by doing this, what you'll do is you'll basically be able to break this down into things that need to get done monthly, things that need to get done weekly, and things that need to get done every day, like today. And by doing so, you have this master list, and you can start chipping away at it. Like paying bills, unless it's time to pay bills and bills are due, like I literally go, cool, this is the day of the month that I'm going to pay bills, and that's set. So that's like a monthly task list. But I don't need to be worrying about paying bills every single day. It's off my plate. It's on my monthly task list. I know on the 14th of each month I'm paying everything. Some are early. Some might be just around that time, due just around that time. But like, I know I set aside one day to knock all of that out. And so then you need to go down to like your daily tasks. Like, what are some things that you need to do daily? And before, we've talked about different daily habits, like, hey, I want to wake up at X time. I want to make sure I do my daily gratitude. I need to make sure I take Scoot for a walk. I need to make sure I feed Scoot in the morning. All of these different things, those are daily tasks. Once you have that, and this is like 2A, I wouldn't even consider this one 3. Once you have that, you use something known as the Eisenhower matrix. And this is a very, very good tool, and if you've never done this before, I highly suggest you do it. So you basically create 4 boxes, 2 by 2. So these 4 boxes, and basically on the left, you have level of importance, or the y-axis. You have your level of importance going up, And on the x-axis, or the bottom, you have urgency. So you have importance and urgency. And basically, this is talked about in the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a great strategy to bucket out even your daily items. So the way to look at this is urgent tasks are things that you feel like you need to get to right away. Things that are on your plate that absolutely need to get done like immediately. Things like emails, phone calls, texts, news, reports, whatever that may be. Important tasks are ones that contribute to your long-term mission, values, and goals. Things that are important. Things that literally are going to make or break your future success. So what you do is you have this 2x2 and you look at these things. Urgent, things that are both urgent and important. So it's on the highest degree. It's both urgent and important. You do these tasks as soon as possible. Obviously, there's a high degree of urgency, but they're also very important for long-term outcomes. Those are number 1. Number 2 would be important but not urgent. So these are items that are important, but you might be able to push these off. You might be able to delay these to focus on some other items that are potentially more urgent. You decide when you do these, and you schedule it is the most important piece. You just don't say, oh, I'll do that next week. No, unacceptable. You need to say, I'm going to do this on Monday of next week, and put it in your calendar. Write it down. Because it needs to get done, and the longer you push it off, the more you'll push it off, and then next thing you know, it'll be late, and you'll be stressed, you'll have other stuff come up. So things that are important but not urgent, decide when you're going to do it and schedule it. Things that are urgent but not important are tasks that you delegate. And that's actually one of the other steps that we'll talk about down the road, so I'll wait to dig into that. But being able to delegate is one of the most powerful tools that anyone can have. And I think there's a clear difference between someone that's lazy and a leader that knows how to effectively delegate. And we'll dive into that. And then the last one is, it's not urgent, it's not important, you guys already know what to do. Drop these from your schedule. If it's not urgent and it's not important, get rid of it. You have other things that you need to accomplish. Remember, you have this master sheet of a ton of stuff that needs to get done. If it's not urgent and it's not important, why are you even letting it take up space in your brain, or letting it take up space? Because ultimately it's going to compound and build more and more anxiety, and it's just get rid of it. Just cross it off. Now we're going to go, so now that we've created a master list of tasks, and we've identified the degree of urgency using the Eisenhower matrix, the third step would be eat the frog. And if you haven't read that book, ultimately the goal is set the tone for the day. There's a great video at someone at the University of Texas, former military individual, and he talks about the importance of making your bed. I'm sure you guys have seen it, went viral. The importance of making your bed when you first get up in the morning. I hate it. It's awful for me to make my bed. It was something that was instilled in me when I was very young, but it's the absolute best thing I can do. Is the minute I get out of bed, I make my bed. Because I cross something off, I set the tone for the day, knowing that I've already accomplished something. It's a reason why before I even step out of bed, I do my brain games, which are like it's not like games on my phone. It's like literally like brain games, like spelling, math, things to just kind of get my brain going. It's an app called Elevate, if for those of you who are interested. Then I go through, and right now I'm on Duolingo and Babbel, trying to learn Spanish, Espanol. I'm working on that. And so before I even get out of bed, those are two things that I absolutely do. And the third, which is an absolute for me, is the gratitude journal, right? Starting with gratitude, writing those things down. That's before my feet even hit the floor in the morning. And then immediately it's making my bed. So as soon as I've gotten out of bed in the morning, I've accomplished 4 things already. I've set the tone for the day, right? I've already done brain exercises. I've already done Spanish work. I've already done gratitude, and I've made my bed. On top of that, I've probably already snuggled with Scoop, which is huge for me. So I've accomplished all these things. I'm setting the tone for the day. Now, what does eat the frog mean? Mark Twain basically has this quote. He says, if you have to eat a live frog, it does not pay to sit and look at it for a very long time. Now, what that means is often there's that large project, and trust me, I know, because I have them pop up all the time. That large project that needs to get done, but it's easy to push it off. Eventually, there's going to come a time when it's deadline time, and it's due, and you're going to have 8 million other things to do, and you're built up, you have a ton of anxiety, you're stressed, you're frustrated, you're mad, and all these emotions because you've delayed it, and ultimately the only person you should be mad at is yourself. So what it means by eat the frog is that big, large, hairy task that you need to accomplish, knock it out first thing in the morning. So after I get out of bed and I go start to get to work, that is the first thing I do, because I know the minute I come into the office, or the minute if I try and wait and do it later on in the day, or I do it at night, I'm either tired, I'm exhausted, something else comes up that is more urgent or a higher priority than that, and I have to knock that out, or people are calling, emailing, texting, and it becomes a lot more difficult to accomplish that big hairy task. So eat the frog means knock that thing out first thing in the morning. Make sure it's the first thing on your plate. And once you knock that out, not only do you feel better, but you just got a huge task done. So that's ultimately the essence of eat the frog. Set the tone for the day. Make sure you're knocking things out, checking them off your list, and that will start to compound. You'll start to build momentum and knock out several more things and kind of crush it at the end of the day. When you go home, you're like, damn, I can't believe I accomplished all that. That's the type of attitude you want to have every single day. So first was create a master list of tasks. Second, identify degree of urgency. 3, eat the frog, set the tone. 4, and this is one that took me a while, a very, very long time to realize, is done is better than perfect. And what happens is you have this paralysis of things don't get accomplished, things don't get done because you want perfection. Everyone at some level strives for perfectionism, right? You're trying to be perfect, but you have to understand getting it done is better than it being absolutely perfect. I have friends, I have colleagues who insist, like, no, this can't be submitted, or no, this can't be printed, no, I need to look it over. And what happens? Their plate starts to compile up. They don't see it as urgent and important. They put up all these other type C and D priorities on top before it, and next thing you know, it's a week delayed when it could have been something that was easily done out there and could have been better at 95% than the delay it took 2 weeks later for it to be done at 100%. And I don't want people to take this and say, oh, well, Ryan's just say rush through things and just get it out there. No, there's some degree of, hey, what you put out is your best foot forward. But at the end of the day, if there's a spelling mistake in your Instagram post, or there's a spelling mistake on your blog post, or you mess something up in your video, you wouldn't believe how much. I probably messed up something on this video, but for me to stop it and then go, guys, we got to record this, re-record this, and do it all over again. No, like, don't confuse perfect with done. Like, getting it done and getting the information out there is going to be way more powerful, accomplish way more than you trying to stress out and repeat it over and over again in order for it to be perfect. So really, really important piece when you're trying to prioritize anything is a lot of times people go, oh, well, I can't do that now because it needs to be perfect. No, cross it off your list. Get it done. Put your best foot forward. Make sure it's a good finished product, but you waiting and pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off doesn't do anyone any good. And trust me here, that perfectionism that you're trying to accomplish by waiting and waiting and pushing it off, you're still going to have mistakes. You're never going to be perfect. So just get it done. So now we have create a master list, identify degree of urgency, eat the frog, set the tone. Done is better than perfect. The final one is know when to cut and delegate. Know when to cut and delegate these items. We talked about how to do that in the Eisenhower matrix, right? Doing it. But if something's pulling you away from something you know will provide a better ROI, then delegate it and refer back to number 4, which is done is better than perfect. If there is something, trust me, I wish everything that we put out, every piece of content, everything our team's doing, I wish I could take the time and look it over. But ultimately that would take away from other priorities of things that need to get done. I need to be able to have full trust that anything and everything that goes out, or anything and everything that I would delegate to someone, will be their best foot forward. And will there be mistakes? Absolutely. Will it be better than me waiting a month for it to go out? Absolutely. So understanding that even if you're like, oh, well, this person's going to do it, but they're only going to do it at 80% of what I could do it, well, cool, they're going to get it done. They're not going to wait 2 months when you have, quote unquote, time to do it, and now it becomes a priority. It would have been better for them to accomplish it at 80% and get it out there, get it out into the world, get feedback from people, and get that information out there, or accomplish whatever it's trying to accomplish, rather than procrastinating and waiting for that perfectionism, which never happens. So the 5 steps to summarize all of this is: create a master list of tasks, identify a degree of urgency, eat the frog, set the tone, understanding that done is better than perfect, and know when to cut and delegate. Very, very important piece. Now, I want to add in an extra piece, which is ultimately, how do you prepare for the next day, right? Because we're talking about these on like a micro scale of getting things done on a day-to-day basis. There's something called the Ivy Lee method, and you need to rank the following day. I think this is very, very important. I do this in my gratitude journal as part of it before I go to bed at night, and it's the first thing I look at in the morning. But at the end of each workday, if you're one of those people who go home and at 5 o'clock your day's done, well, at 4:50 or 4:45, you sit down at the end of your workday, you write down the 6, no more than 6, most important things you need to accomplish the next day. Why? It's fresh on your mind, and now you can write down this task list of 6 things that you want to accomplish the next day. There might have been something that you didn't accomplish that day. Cool. Put it as number 1 on the priority list for tomorrow so you can cross it off the list. Prioritize these items in order of their true importance. Now, if you didn't get something done today, but tomorrow there's a hard deadline and there's that big hairy item that needs to get done, knock that out first. But don't keep, you'll start to see patterns of like, oh, this has made it to tomorrow's list. Oh, it's on next week's list. Oh, it's on next month's list. Those things, if they're getting pushed that far, scrap them, because clearly they're not important. Clearly they're not urgent. Clearly they're not important. So it's important to set the tone and understand that, hey, you can plan for the following day. When you get into the office or wherever you're working from the next day and you have those items, unless something radical changed over the 12 or however many hours are in between the time you left work to the time you're getting started the next day, unless something radically changed, stick to that list. And I am big on lists, and I think it's one of the most important pieces. It's the reason why I have notepads and journals and things that are very specific. So that way I know at the end of the day, I'm crossing these items out for today, and I'm also creating a list for tomorrow, things that I need to accomplish. So those are 5 key steps to prioritizing anything, and then on top of that, use what's called the Ivy Lee method to plan for the next day. That way you can go home, or you're finished up with your day, even if you work a little bit at home, you're finishing up your day and you know, this is what I accomplished today, this is what I'm going to accomplish tomorrow. And that way there's no ambiguity, no uncertainty of what's going to get done. So with that being said, guys, I hope that helps. Again, in summary, create a master list. If you haven't done that, I'm sure some of you have a list. If it's scattered, consolidate it on one sheet. Identify the degree of urgency and break those down into monthly, weekly, and daily, right? And that's an ongoing process. Some things might move from monthly down to weekly. Some things might move from weekly down to daily, depending upon what you do in your schedule. Use the Eisenhower matrix. Eat the frog, that big hairy thing. Like it doesn't pay to wait. Just knock it out and set the tone for the day. Knock some key things out early on, so that way you can kind of compound and create this compound effect of things spiraling and this positive effect of, hey, I'm accomplishing a lot. Understand that done's better than perfect. Know when to cut and delegate. It's one of the biggest things. It's easy for people who are lazy because they like to delegate, but that people who are listening to this podcast aren't those people. They're not the lazy people. They're the go-getters. They're the people that are out there doing things, and I know that for a fact. It's a lot more difficult for us to delegate because we're fearful that someone's not going to be able to do it to our capability, or we're fearful that they're not going to do it right and it's going to look bad on us. Trust me, you have to have the trust in your team. You have to have the ability to understand that done's better than perfect, and if that means you have to delegate certain items, delegate it. And last but not least, use the Ivy Lee method to plan for the next day. Set yourself up so at the end of the day you look yourself in the mirror and you go, hey, I know exactly what I accomplished. I know exactly what I'm going to accomplish tomorrow. And at the end of the day, that ultimately, by utilizing these tips, utilizing these tools, prioritizing these things, not only do I think you'll become more efficient, not only do I think you'll accomplish a lot more, but I truly believe you'll become a lot more fulfilled, because you'll go home at the end of the day and go, wow, I feel fulfilled in what I'm doing because I know I'm accomplishing these things. I know what I'm doing the next day. You're going to lower anxiety, lower your stress, and just be in an overall better place. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate it. Hopefully you can take away some of these tips. You can apply them directly to yourself or someone that you know. Share this with someone that you know, because I think it'll truly help them if they're having trouble prioritizing tasks. Utilize some of these tips, or utilize all of them, and take it forward and understand how to prioritize anything you have going on in your life. So with that being said, guys, appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, love each and every one of you. If you have any topics that you really want me to talk about, give feedback. Shoot me a DM, let me know, because I'm more than happy to talk about anything you guys want to hear here on What the Fat. As always, guys, make positivity louder. I'll talk to you next time.